Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we will discuss a very important topic in marine maintenance management. Maintenance and repair expenditure and spare parts and stores. Both these areas are closely linked to the efficiency and economy of shipboard maintenance operations. We will look at how maintenance expenditure can be controlled and minimized, and how spare parts and stores are managed to ensure reliability and cost effectiveness. The aim of a planned maintenance system or PMS is to minimize the overall maintenance expenditure of a ship. To achieve this, there must be a proper balance between preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance. A well planned PMS helps us avoid unnecessary expenses while maintaining operational safety and efficiency. Let's understand this balance in a little more detail. If preventive maintenance increases, then naturally the cost of labor, material, and administration will rise. However, in this case, breakdowns and loss due to operational interruptions will reduce. On the other hand, if the preventive maintenance decreases, then the loss from breakdowns and operational interruptions may rise sharply. So, the key is to maintain an optimum balance between preventive and corrective work. This balance ensures that we achieve the minimum overall maintenance expenditure for the ship. It's also important to remember that excessive preventive maintenance can actually increase total maintenance cost. However, there are certain type of equipment, especially where safety is critical or where specialist skills are required, where higher preventive expenses are justified. In such cases, it is better to accept higher preventive cost rather than the risk of avoidable breakdowns or accidents. Now let's look at the types of cost involved in maintenance, starting with direct costs. Direct costs are those that arise directly from maintenance activities such as wages for maintenance personnel, materials procured like spare parts, packing materials, paint, and other stores. Expenses for skilled specialists and external services, tools, protective equipment, and workshop premises, and administrative costs involved in planning, control, and inventory management, such as ordering and receiving spares and maintaining PMS records. All of these are part of the direct expenditure on maintenance. Next, we have indirect costs. These are the hidden or secondary expenses that results from machinery and breakdowns or operational interruptions. Indirect costs include loss of income due to interrupted operation or machinery downtime. For example, a container vessel with tight turnaround times may lose a huge amount of revenue if machinery fails. Repair cost after the breakdown occurs, damages caused due to other parties such as port authorities or other ships, and loss of goodwill or reputation for the company due to delays or frequent failures. These indirect costs can sometimes be even higher than direct maintenance cost. Now, let's move on to the second part of this topic, spare part and stores. For any preventive maintenance activity, it is absolutely essential to make sure that the required spare parts are available before dismantling any machinery. If spare parts are not available, it is often better not to dismantle the equipment at all. Otherwise, the machinery may remain out of service longer than necessary, affecting operations. Handling and storage of spare parts are very important aspects of maintenance management. Let's note a few key points. Spares must always be stored in dry compartments to prevent corrosion and deterioration. Improper storage may lead to wrong inventory records. Spare parts should be kept close to the machinery spaces for easy access during maintenance. Sometimes different parts of the same machine need to be stored in different areas depending on their design, size, utility, or material. Electronic equipment must always be kept in a completely dry area, preferably near the electrical workshop. Whenever possible, complete assemblies or sub-assemblies should be used rather than assembling units from individual parts. This avoids human error and allows the replaced unit to be overhauled later as a single piece. Finally, procurement of spares must be done with prudence, because storing excess stocks leads to locked up capital that yields a very little return unless the spares are actually used. Shipboard spares are generally classified into four main categories. First one is special items. There, there are large or critical components used during major breakdowns or overhauls. For example, cylinder liners, piston, turbine rotors, casings, and housings. They often have long delivery times, and if they need to be air freighted, the cost is extremely high. If such spares are not available when needed, the ship may have to wait, resulting in huge financial losses. Second is wear and tear spares. These are spares parts subject to regular wear and tear, requiring replacement at specific intervals. Their requirement is relatively easy to predict based on maintenance schedule, therefore the stock level can be regulated carefully and extra spares can be ordered in advance of the overhaul. Third one is standard spares. Standard spares are common parts used in various types of machinery such as shaft seals, bearings or V-belts. These are stored together in a central locker not next to specific equipment. This method allows for a simple ordering, easier control of stock and better inventory management. Stores and standard parts. The last category includes general stores, tools, consumables and standard parts. These can be ordered according to predetermined minimum and maximum stock levels, usually on a 3-month or 6-month basis. This approach ensures that commonly used items are always available without overstocking. Ordering and stock control of spare parts are governed by three key elements. First one is minimum quantity or minimum stock. This is the lowest quantity that must always be available on board. It acts as a buffer stock, ensuring that operation continues smoothly even if there is a delay in spare delivery. Second is delivery time. Delivery time determines when to place the next order. Order must be timed so that stocks never fall below the minimum level. While placing an order, one must consider the transportation time and voyage schedule of the vessel. Third one is quantity ordered each period. The quantity ordered depends on the interval between orderings. If the interval is long, the order quantity will be large, which increases the capital cost but reduces shipping frequency. If the interval is short, the order quantity is smaller, which reduces capital cost but increases transportation expenses. Another consideration is that large orders often attract better discounts, which can reduce the total cost of spares. To summarize this lecture, the goal of a planned maintenance system is to minimize total maintenance expenditure by balancing preventive and corrective actions. Too much preventive maintenance raises cost, while too little leads to more breakdowns and higher indirect expenses. Maintenance costs are divided into direct and indirect categories. The availability and proper storage of spares are critical to successful maintenance planning. Spare parts classification helps in better stock management and cost control. Stock control and ordering principles ensure sufficient reserves without without tying up excess capitals. By applying these principles, marine engineers can achieve a balance between reliability, safety, and cost effectiveness in ship operations. Thank you for listening. I have added a few short videos related to our today's topic. Hope you will like it.
In this media, you are going to learn about maintenance and repair expenditure. Aim of PMS is to minimize the overall maintenance expenditure. For this, preventive and corrective maintenance will have to be balanced. Increase of preventive maintenance. It leads to rise in the cost of labor, material and administration. But the breakdowns and losses arising out of interruption in operation will reduce. Decrease of preventive maintenance. It leads to substantial rise in the losses arising out of interruption in operation due to breakdowns. The minimum maintenance expenditure will be achieved by balancing the preventive and corrective maintenance as shown in the figure. Excessive use of planned preventive maintenance will result in an increase of the overall maintenance expenditure. For the safety of some equipment, the attention of skilled specialists may be required, and such higher expenses will have to be accepted for protecting against avoidable breakdowns. Direct cost towards maintenance expenditure. Following are the expenditure incurred as a direct result of the maintenance activities. Wages for maintaining the relevant personnel. Cost of materials procured such as spares, packing material, paint, stores, etc. Expenses towards the services rendered by skilled specialists. Equipment cost including personal protective clothing, tools and premises used. Administrative expenses involved on account of planning and control activities arising out of the PMS, ordering or receiving or maintaining spare parts, etc. Indirect costs towards maintenance expenditure. Loss of income or expenses caused by interruptions or broken down machinery. These could be very high, say for a container vessel which has very fast turnaround times. Costs towards repair of the breakdown. Damages caused to other involved parties such as port authorities, other vessels, etc. Loss of goodwill and image of the shipping company. Thus we have learned about maintenance and repair expenditure. You are going to learn about spare parts and stores. For any PM activity, it is very important to ensure that necessary spare parts are available prior to the dismantling of any machinery. In fact, if spare parts are unavailable, it may be better to refrain from dismantling a machine. Basic handling and storage of spares. If required to be stored, spare parts must be kept in dry compartments, particularly to avoid corrosion. Otherwise, some spares may get damaged and the actual available spares in good condition may not match with the records in the inventory. Spares are to be stored close to the machinery spaces. Different spare parts of the same machine may be stored in different areas depending on their design, size, utility and material characteristics. All electronic equipment need to be stored in a total dry area next to the electrical workshop. In order to avoid human error leading to assembling a unit from parts not pertaining to the same unit, complete units, assemblies or sub-assemblies should be utilized as far as practicable. Besides, this will also enable the replaced unit to be overhauled as one piece for compatible use next time. Procurement of spares should be done with prudence since this is a cause of locked up substantial capital on which the return on investments is negligible. Classification of shipboard spares. Special items to be used in case of major breakdowns or overhauls such as cylinder liners, pistons, turbine rotors, casings, housings, etc. Spare parts normally subject to wear and tear and need to be replaced at certain frequencies. Standard spare parts applicable to a variety of machinery, say certain typical shaft seals, ball bearings or V-belts, etc. Stores, common tools, standard parts and parts subject to normal wear tear. These can be ordered to a predetermined maximum or minimum quantity of 6 or 3 on monthly basis. The method of ordering stores and standard parts is indicated in the given figure. Here, min and max refers to the minimum and maximum quantity of stock always meant to be available on board. L represents the delivery time that is used to determine the appropriate moment of ordering for the spares. B refers to placing of order that must be carried out in a manner that will not adversely affect the minimum stocks to be maintained on board. K represents the quantity ordered each period. The value of K depends on the time interval in between the orderings. The longer the interval, the higher shall be the volume of the spares ordered and thereby the capital cost that would be incurred on this count. Otherwise, lesser volume of ordering at shorter intervals will entail higher transportation costs even though the capital cost will be lower. Another aspect to be considered is that ordering a larger volume of spares in one go allows a bigger discount in the prices. Thus, we have learned about spare parts and stores.